Most people don't lose relationships because of lack of love, they lose them because of lack of effort. And here's the truth. If someone truly values you, you'll never have to beg for the bare minimum. You deserve consistency, not excuses, and starting today, you're going to stop accepting anything less. People often talk about how much they care, how much they value you, or how important you are in their life, but words are cheap when they aren't backed by consistent behavior. Anyone can speak beautifully, promise the world, or say the right thing in the right moment, but real respect is not something you hear, it's something you experience. You can feel it in the way someone shows up for you when it's inconvenient, not just when it's easy. You can see it in how they prioritize you when nobody is watching. Respect isn't loud or performative, it's quiet, steady, and visible in action. There's a big difference between someone who talks about effort and someone who actually gives effort. People who genuinely respect you don't make you guess, question, or decode mixed signals. Their consistency removes confusion because respect makes their actions align with their words naturally. When someone values you, they don't leave space for doubt to grow. They remove ambiguity through clarity, commitment, and reliability. Your importance to them is proven through the choices they make on a daily basis. And the truth is, effort doesn't need to be extravagant, it needs to be consistent. We live in a world where minimal effort has become normalized, where excuses are disguised as reasons, and where emotional convenience often replaces emotional responsibility. Someone can care about you and still mistreat you if they aren't intentional with their actions. Care without effort is negligence. If someone truly respects you, they won't lean on phrases like "I was busy," "I forgot," or "I'm just like this." Respect isn't about perfection, it's about priority. When someone respects you, they don't allow themselves to treat you as an afterthought. They make room for you, not excuses. Many people confuse attention with respect, but attention can be temporary, reactive, or easily influenced by mood or circumstance. Respect is stable, it doesn't fluctuate based on convenience. A person who respects you thinks about how their behavior impacts you before they act. They consider your feelings even in moments of frustration. They communicate honestly, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Attention can feel good in the moment, but it's short-lived. Respect is sustainable. It builds trust, safety, and emotional certainty. It is the foundation for all healthy relationships, both personal and professional. Most disappointment in relationships comes from believing words while ignoring patterns. People show you who they are repeatedly, not occasionally. A moment of effort means nothing if it's surrounded by neglect. Consistency matters because it reveals a person's true character. A single apology means nothing without changed behavior. A promise only holds value if someone intends to keep it. Patterns don't lie, and when someone respects you, they don't make you beg for change. Change is self-initiated because they value how their actions affect the relationship. Respect also shows up in the small things, not just the grand gestures. It's in remembering what matters to you, honoring commitments, and making an effort even when energy or time is limited. Small efforts create emotional security because they prove awareness, care, and reliability. Grand gestures are nice, but they're often performative, temporary, or triggered by guilt. Small, consistent actions are intentional. They come from a place of authenticity, not obligation or image management. Respect is built in the everyday moments where choosing you is not convenient, but still a priority. At some point, you must get honest with yourself about the difference between what someone says and how they behave. Honesty with yourself is the first step in setting higher standards. If you keep accepting words without action, you reinforce the belief that effort isn't required to stay in your life. You begin to teach people that excuses work on you. And once someone realizes they can keep you with the bare minimum, effort stops entirely, not because they're incapable of giving more, but because you've shown them they don't need to. Respect starts with self-respect, and self-respect grows when you stop settling for emotional crumbs. We sometimes cling to someone's potential instead of their reality, but potential is not a promise. You can't build a fulfilling connection on what someone might do one day. Respect cannot exist on hypotheticals or future fantasies. What matters is how someone treats you right now. People choose their priorities. If someone wants to make you a priority, they will. If they don't, you won't need to decode it. Their behavior will tell you everything. Respect is visible in effort that doesn't require persuasion, negotiation, or constant reminders. It feels natural because it's self-driven. When someone truly respects you, they don't view effort as a burden. They don't feel forced to show up for you. Effort becomes their chosen language of care because they value the relationship and never want you to feel undervalued. They take accountability when they fall short instead of hiding behind excuses. They communicate, they adjust, and they improve. Respect drives them to protect the connection, not take advantage of your forgiveness. Effort becomes a reflection of their integrity, not just their affection. That's why respect is the highest form of love, the highest form of self. Growth is learning to trust actions over words and making decisions that reflect what you deserve, not what you're used to. Many people accept low effort because they've never experienced high effort consistently. But once you experience real respect, you will never tolerate the bare minimum again. You begin to demand alignment between words and actions. You value energy that invests, not drains, and you stop being impressed by potential and start respecting consistency. It shifts everything: how you choose, who you allow close, and what you define as love. Setting a standard for how you want to be treated is not arrogance, it is self-awareness. It's recognizing your value and refusing to shrink to make others comfortable. When you set standards, you are not demanding perfection, you are defining what respect looks like for you. People often fear setting standards because they think it will push others away, but the truth is that standards don't scare the right people. They filter out the wrong ones. When you hold a clear line for what you will and won't accept, you protect your emotional, mental, and physical space. You stop allowing behavior that drains you, belittles you, or leaves you questioning your worth. Standards are boundaries with clarity, not walls with hostility. And the people who genuinely care won't see your standards as a threat. They'll see them as guidance for how to love you well. Many people lower their standards out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of losing someone, fear of appearing too much. But lowering your standards doesn't prevent loss, it only guarantees loss in the process. Every time you accept something beneath what you need, you abandon a piece of yourself to keep someone else comfortable. You begin to silence your needs, compromise your values, and normalize behaviors that hurt you. Soon, you no longer recognize the version of you that once believed you deserved more. Your standards are not supposed to bend to fit someone's lack of effort, willingness, or emotional maturity. If someone truly wants to be in your life, they will rise to meet your standards, not wait for you to lower them. Love that requires self-betrayal is not love, it's attachment disguised as loyalty. People will call you demanding or hard to please when they benefit from your lack of boundaries. The moment you decide to raise your standards, people who are comfortable giving you the bare minimum will start experiencing discomfort because your growth threatens their convenience. They will accuse you of changing, becoming cold, or expecting too much. But growth will always feel like rejection to those who only valued access to you when it was cheap, easy, or one-sided. You are not difficult for wanting respect, consistency, honesty, effort, and accountability. You are not high maintenance for expecting emotional intelligence and maturity. You are simply requiring what you should have required all along. The wrong people complain about standards. The right people appreciate them because they align with their own. Setting a standard is not about controlling others. It's about controlling what you allow into your life. You cannot force someone to treat you well, but you can refuse to engage with them if they don't. You can't change someone's character, but you can change your access to them. When you set standards, you give others a choice. Rise to the level of respect you require or remove themselves from your space. Both are wins because clarity protects your peace. It is not your job to convince someone to treat you right. It's their responsibility to show they can. And if they don't, your standard becomes the filter that keeps you from settling for emotional scraps. You don't chase love when you know you deserve loyalty, effort, and alignment. One of the biggest acts of self-respect is learning to stop explaining and start enforcing. When you continuously justify why something hurts you or why you need better, you're communicating with someone who already knows. They just don't care enough to change. You shouldn't have to convince someone that you are worth effort. You shouldn't have to argue for the bare minimum. When you have standards, you don't debate your worth, you protect it. You don't chase clarity, you require it. The moment you stop tolerating less, people either step up or step out. Both outcomes bring you closer to the relationships that match your value. A powerful shift happens when you understand that disappointment is not caused by high standards, but by holding on to low-quality connections for too long. Standards don't create heartbreak, misalignment does. Keeping people in your life who don't belong there is more painful than letting them go. You don't lose people when you raise your standards. You reveal who was never meant to stay. The ones who leave when you stop accepting the bare minimum were only there because settling benefited them. The ones who stay are those who value you enough to grow with you. Letting go isn't losing, it's clearing space for alignment, reciprocity, and real connection. When you raise your standards, you also raise the standards for yourself. You cannot expect honesty if you lie to yourself. You cannot expect effort if you give yourself excuses. You cannot demand loyalty if you betray your own needs. Standards must start internally before they can be upheld externally. If you want people to respect your boundaries, you have to honor them first. If you want consistent effort from others, you must stop accepting inconsistency within yourself. The way you treat yourself sets the tone for every relationship in your life. You become a mirror. People follow the model you set. And when you live in alignment with your standards, others learn to treat you according to your example, not your words. Setting standards is an ongoing practice, not a one-time declaration. People will test your boundaries intentionally or unintentionally. Situations will arise that challenge your old habits. You might be tempted to fall back into comfort, nostalgia, or familiar patterns. But growth requires discipline. You must be willing to disappoint others in order not to disappoint yourself. Every time you uphold a standard, you strengthen your self-worth. Every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce your identity. The more you choose yourself, the less tolerance you have for environments that shrink you, disrespect you, or drain you. It becomes easier to walk away because you know what staying will cost you. The reality is, the people who truly belong in your life won't ask you to lower your standards. They will meet you at them or help you expand them. They will value your boundaries because they align with their own principles. They will communicate with honesty, show up with consistency, and handle conflict with maturity. They won't feel threatened by your growth. They will be inspired by it. They won't compete with your standards. They will match them. With the right people, you never have to beg for respect, loyalty, effort, or love. You never have to dilute yourself to keep the connection alive. Alignment feels like peace, not pressure. Bare minimum energy has become so common that many people don't even realize they're accepting it. It shows up in delayed responses, broken commitments, one-sided effort, and excuses disguised as explanations. When someone truly values you, you don't have to constantly remind them how to show up. You don't have to beg for effort that should be natural. The bare minimum is not carrot's convenience. It allows people to enjoy the benefits of your presence without investing in the relationship. Accepting it trains others to believe that you don't require more, and the longer you tolerate it, the more it becomes the standard of how you are treated. People often settle for the bare minimum because they confuse crumbs of effort with genuine care. They romanticize "at least they tried," even when the attempt was inconsistent, last minute, or done only after being confronted. But real effort doesn't need to be extracted from someone. It flows from a place of intention. When someone cares, they don't make you question their commitment. They don't give only when it's convenient or when they fear losing you. The bare minimum keeps you emotionally hungry, constantly seeking validation to feel secure. Genuine care nourishes, strengthens, and builds trust. It isn't rationed like a privilege. The bare minimum often hides behind excuses that sound reasonable. I've been busy, I forgot, or I'm just not good at this, become shields to avoid accountability. And while life does get overwhelming, effort isn't about perfection, it's about prioritization. When someone truly values you, effort becomes intentional, not occasional or conditional. They don't use challenges as reasons to stop showing up. They find ways to stay present through them. Excuses may explain behavior, but they don't justify neglect. If someone can make time for what matters to them, and you're not included in that, their energy has given you the truth you need to see. The most dangerous thing about the bare minimum is how quietly it lowers your self-worth over time. At first, you notice the lack of reciprocity, but you justify it. Then, you adapt to doing most of the emotional labor. Eventually, you start feeling guilty for wanting more, as if your needs are unreasonable. You begin shrinking your expectations to avoid conflict or disappointment. It's not just the relationship that becomes imbalanced, your identity does. You lose your voice, your standards, and your sense of what healthy effort feels like. Settling becomes a habit disguised as love, loyalty, or patience, but it's actually self-abandonment. People who truly want to be in your life will never make you feel like you're asking for too much simply for wanting consistency, honesty, communication, or accountability. To the right people, effort is not a chore, it's a privilege. They don't need to be convinced to value you, they choose to. They won't make you feel needy for expecting reciprocity. They won't weaponize your standards or use guilt to escape responsibility. Instead, they meet you with maturity, initiative, and presence. Effort from the right person feels natural, not negotiated. It feels safe, not uncertain. It feels mutual, not exhausting. A lot of people wait for someone to change before they walk away, believing that love, time, or patience will inspire effort. But change doesn't happen because someone fears losing you. It happens when they value you enough not to risk it. And if effort only appears when abandonment becomes a threat, that effort is manipulation, not care. You should be valued because of who you are, not because someone fears replacing what you provide. Real effort is proactive, not reactive. If someone only tries after being confronted, they are preserving access, not honoring connection. Consistency reveals sincerity more than promises ever will. Choosing yourself means no longer negotiating with low effort, even when your heart wants to stay. It means being strong enough to acknowledge when what someone is offering isn't enough for the relationship you desire. You cannot build a meaningful connection on partial effort from someone who keeps their best energy for elsewhere. You deserve someone who is all in, not half present. Someone who follows through, not someone who apologizes repeatedly with no change. Self-respect requires letting go of relationships that drain you just to keep them alive. If you have to beg for effort, the connection is already dying. Learning to stop accepting the bare minimum also means learning to give yourself more. Many people attract low effort because they themselves operate with low effort toward their own needs, goals, and boundaries. If you tolerate excuses within yourself, you'll tolerate them from others. If you abandon your needs, others will too. Raising the standard of how others treat you begins with raising the standard of how you treat yourself. When you hold yourself accountable, follow through on your commitments, and honor your boundaries, you signal to others that effort is your baseline. You model the behavior you expect. When you stop entertaining the bare minimum, the dynamics of your life change. Some people will disappear because you no longer provide the comfort of one-sided access. Others will step up because they recognize your value and want to match your energy. You will begin attracting people who give freely, communicate openly, and invest consistently. Your environment will start operating at a higher frequency because you no longer participate in anything that drains you. And what once felt like too much to ask becomes normal because mutual effort becomes the new standard. You finally realize that the right people don't need to be convinced, they just show up. Becoming the example of the effort you expect from others begins with radical honesty about how you show up in your own life. It's easy to demand loyalty, consistency, honesty, and care, but it is far more powerful to embody them first. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, your energy naturally influences how others treat you. You stop seeking what you are not willing to give, and you begin cultivating relationships rooted in mutual respect, not entitlement. Transformation starts inward, not outward. You cannot expect depth from others if you stay surface level with yourself. The effort you invest in your growth sets the tone for who belongs in your life. And when you elevate yourself, the people who align with that version of you will rise too. Before you can require accountability from others, you must learn to hold yourself accountable without excuses. Personal responsibility means acknowledging your flaws, your inconsistencies, and the areas where you fall short without blaming circumstances or people. Growth requires self-reflection and the humility to say, I need to do better. Not because someone called you out, but because you expect more from yourself. When you lead with accountability, you attract people who value honesty over ego. You create conversations rooted in growth, not defensiveness. Accountability becomes a shared language, not a threat. Others feel safe owning their mistakes because you model what responsibility looks like. And relationships built on accountability become stronger, healthier, and more trustworthy over time. Consistency is one of the greatest forms of self-respect because it reflects alignment between what you say and what you do. You cannot ask for consistency in relationships if you only show up when it's convenient. Consistency requires discipline, emotional maturity, and integrity. It means keeping your promises to yourself, not just to others. It's easy to be motivated when things feel exciting, but true character shows in the days when motivation is gone and commitment remains. When others see that your effort is stable and not seasonal, they begin to trust you more deeply. You become someone whose presence feels safe because your behavior isn't unpredictable. Your consistency becomes an anchor, not only for yourself, but also for the people around you. Being the example also means embracing emotional intelligence, the ability to understand, regulate, and communicate your feelings with clarity. You cannot expect healthy communication from others if you respond with defensiveness, silence, or emotional avoidance. Emotional maturity means expressing your needs without attacking, listening without preparing a counterattack, and addressing conflict with the intention to understand, not to win. People feel respected when they can speak to you without fear of being judged, dismissed, or belittled. When you model emotional intelligence, others learn how to treat you and how to treat themselves. You create a space where honesty is not only encouraged but valued, and relationships rooted in emotional intelligence last longer because they are built on truth, not suppressed resentment. You must become willing to give the same level of effort you desire, even when others cannot match it yet. This does not mean overgiving or abandoning boundaries, but rather leading with the energy you want to attract. If you desire appreciation, express appreciation. If you want support, offer genuine support. If you want love to be shown, show love through action, not just intention. Reciprocity begins with example, not demand. The goal is not to earn love through effort, but to inspire an environment where effort feels natural, not forced. When you show what healthy effort looks like, it becomes easier for others to understand your standards. You raise the bar through demonstration, not lectures, and people who value you will meet you where you are. However, being the example does not mean tolerating people who refuse to grow. Your role is to inspire, not to carry. You cannot heal others at the cost of hurting yourself. You cannot teach someone to respect you if they have no desire to change. Part of leading by example is knowing when to walk away from those who consistently choose the bare minimum. Leaving is also leadership. It communicates that your standards are non-negotiable. When you walk away with dignity, you reinforce your own worth. You stop trying to convince people to see your value and instead align yourself with those who already do. Walking away is not failure, it's honoring the example you set for yourself. Becoming the standard requires patience because growth is not instant. It is a journey of self-elevation. You will outgrow old habits, old environments, and sometimes old relationships. It may feel lonely at first, but that loneliness is temporary compared to the long-term cost of staying small. As you evolve, you'll begin attracting people who match where you are going, not where you used to be. You'll notice that conversations deepen, connections strengthen, and your inner peace expands. The quality of your life improves because you stopped accepting emotional shortcuts. Growth creates alignment. And alignment attracts people who respect your path, not resent it. The loneliness fades, and what replaces it is fulfillment. When you choose to become the example, you redefine what normal feels like in your relationships. Drama stops feeling stimulating. Inconsistency stops feeling familiar. You lose interest in proving your worth because you already know it. You stop nurturing connections built on potential and start prioritizing those built on reciprocity. Your heart becomes less impressed by words and more impressed by action. You become less tolerant of mediocrity disguised as effort. The more you honor yourself, the more you attract people who honor you too. Life begins to mirror the standards you enforce, not the ones you compromise. The truth is, you cannot receive effort that you are unwilling to give yourself. If you want a life rooted in growth, love, respect, and depth, you must show up as the person who embodies those values. You must lead with the version of you that you aspire to be, not the version that settles. Becoming the example is not about being perfect, it is about being intentional. It is about showing up with heart, discipline, and integrity, even when it's hard. When you elevate your behavior, you elevate the relationships in your life, and the right people will not only notice, they will rise with you. In the end, being what you expect is the most powerful form of self-respect and self-leadership. It sets a precedent for how people must show up to be a part of your life. It aligns your environment with your values, your relationships with your standards, and your life with your worth. And when you live in a way that reflects what you believe you deserve, the world begins to respond accordingly. Stand firm in your standards, lead with example, choose yourself with confidence, and never forget that the way you show up teaches others how to treat you. Those who are meant for you will match your energy, honor your growth, and meet you at the level you've worked so hard to reach.